Hi, I'm Alex Newman. I'm a correspondent with the New American Magazine, and today I want to talk to you about auditing the Federal Reserve. Lawmakers in the Senate and in the House introduced a new bill. It's actually not a new bill. It's been introduced many times before, but it's new for this Congress. And what it would do is open up the books at the Federal Reserve. This is an incredibly important issue for a number of reasons. Most importantly is that it would show the American people what's been happening behind closed doors at this extremely powerful and extremely secretive institution that literally dominates our economy. In the House, the bill is H.R. 24. It's the Federal Reserve Transparency Act. It was introduced by Thomas Massie, and last time I checked, it already had more than 200 co-sponsors. In the Senate, it's S.16. It was introduced by Senator Rand Paul. Already has a whole bunch of co-sponsors as well. And it looks like this may be the best opportunity ever to find out what's been happening at the Federal Reserve. Last Congress, it passed out of the House with 333 votes in favor. Had majority support in the Senate as well. So as far as Congress goes, things are looking up. And President Trump, on the campaign trail, he was very vocal in support of auditing the Fed. He said it was so important to audit the Federal Reserve, and he criticized one of his opponents for missing a Senate vote on this crucial issue. So Trump has also, as we talked about in a previous video for the New American, Trump has been a very vocal critic of the Federal Reserve. He talked about how they're propping up the stock market and manipulating what he called the very false economy, and he's right on the money. So for over 100 years, the Federal Reserve has been inflating the currency supply, causing the boom and bust cycle, and basically siphoning the wealth of the American people, especially the poor and middle class, from the economy to the wealthiest of the wealthy, the insiders, the establishment, whatever you want to call it. And they've also enabled the welfare and the warfare state. They've enabled the politicians in Washington, D.C. to spend money like it's going out of style. It's one of the big reasons why we're $20 trillion in debt. And even more troubling, perhaps, is all the money they've been creating out of thin air and passing around to their friends. So we had actually an example of this during the last economic crisis in 2008. We got a limited audit. It had actually been, the Audit the Fed bill was sabotaged by Bernie Sanders in the Senate, but we did still get a watered-down audit. And what this revealed was absolutely mind-blowing. We found out that the Federal Reserve had created $16 trillion, that's 16 trillion with a T, and handed out this fresh money to their cronies, to the mega banks, to the foreign central banks, to private businesses, to banks owned by brutal dictators, basically anybody they wanted. And no transparency, no oversight, no nothing. And this is unacceptable. I mean, $16 trillion, that's the value of our economy. They were buying stocks. The Federal Reserve has gotten completely out of control. The American people deserve to know what's going on. And unfortunately, they've never had a full and proper audit of this institution. That's absolutely crazy. And if you listen to what some of the Federal Reserve people, the leaders, who are of course elected by the member banks that own these Federal Reserve banks, the shareholders of the regional banks, they talk about this whole idea of auditing the Fed as if there was something wrong with the American people knowing what their monetary policy regime and what these officials were up to. And frankly, that's totally crazy. Imagine any government agency saying that the American people don't have a right to know what's going on with their money. It's totally ridiculous. So this is a very important bill. We have a historic opportunity to pass it. There's many reasons why we need to do this. Congressman Ron Paul, who was the original author of this bill, way back in the day, he's retired out of Congress already. He was a Republican from Texas. But he explained that the purpose of this bill is so that the American people can find out what's happened at the Federal Reserve so that we can ultimately shut it down. And, that's what needs to happen. And the first step in that is finding out what these people have been up to.